First, take one delicious, scrumptious cake, all of it, and pop it in the oven. Unbake for 2 hours, until you have a mixture. Put the mixture in a baking bowl and separate the ingredients: sultanas, eggs, sugar. And there you have your bag of Lofty Peak flour. Of course, it's much simpler to eat your cake and buy Lofty Peak from your local store.
If I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake, baked a cake, baked a... Oh, that reminds me. Have you thought about your Christmas baking yet? Well, now's the time to get busy before the festive season really gets going. And don't forget, use Lofty Peak flour. It's the ideal flour for all home baking, specially blended to give you perfect results every time. Just look at this shortbread, and these Christmas pies, and this wonderful Christmas cake. Everyone can make cakes like these by following the recipes carefully and using Lofty Peak flour. So make a note on your shopping list and get Lofty Peak tomorrow at your local store.
Take one delicious take one delicious scrumptious cake.
This wonderful Christmas cake. Everyone can make cakes like these by following the recipes carefully and using Lofty Peak flour. So make a note on your shopping list and get Lofty Peak tomorrow at your local store. If I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake, baked a cake, baked a... Oh, that reminds me. Have you thought about your Christmas baking yet? Well, now's the time to get busy before the festive season really gets going. And don't forget, use Lofty Peak flour.
That's the
It's
funniest thing I've ever
ideal
seen in my
flour
life.
for all home baking, specially blended to give you perfect results every time. Just look at this shortbread and these Christmas pies and this wonderful Christmas cake. Everyone can make cakes like these by following the recipes carefully and using Lofty Peak flour.
Lofty Peak.
Make a note on your shopping list and get Lofty Peak tomorrow at your local store.
I'm not sure if it's still available or not. Get yourself Lofty Peak now at your local co-op. Get it from the local co-op or your local co-op, whichever is easiest for you. So yes, that is Lofty Peak. This is Franco Michalizzi Stridulum theme from the film Stridulum, also known as The Visitor from 1979, directed by Michael Paradisi. Whatever his real name is, he directed also Spaghetti House, which is no doubt fantastic, and Beyond the Door. Apart from that, I'm not sure. Well, anyway, he made The Visitor, which I highly recommend for anybody out there who likes films a little bit off the beaten track, perhaps. As you're going through the highways and byways of viewing pleasures available to you via streaming, DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, Laserdisc, Super VHS, U-matic, aerial projection films from cinema viewing, which still exists, believe it or not. So yeah, get in there, get to your local cinema and watch whatever you can. I hope you can actually hear me now. If anybody's watching now, can you please just confirm that I am audible? Or I'll have to check it myself, which is pretty hard. This is damn good coffee time. This is the new damn good coffee time, perhaps, because the previous channel was successfully deleted by me in a, shall we say, moment of madness. If you actually look at the YouTube address for this one, it is youtube.com/@JamesCoffeeTimeProductions, just to distinguish it from the previous channel, which was also called Damn Good Coffee Time, but that managed to get nearly 800 subscribers, the majority of which were from the heydays of Twin Peaks: The Return, circa pretty much 2017, and then after that people were still watching the channel, but the interest in Twin Peaks was still there, but I think it just tapered off inevitably once people had seen The Return and moved on to other things, as they are want to do after enjoying something like that. It's probably difficult to find something as good on TV, but people still watch other shows, for instance Severance, or like me, Adolescence on Netflix, which is a drama with Stephen Graham and Christine Tremarco playing the parents of a 13-year-old boy who unfortunately and for some reason decides to borrow a knife off of his friend, a kitchen knife, and stab a fellow pupil at his school, a young girl who's about the same age, I think, to death in a car park around the back of, pretty much close to where his school is even. In one pretty impressive shot, there's a whole sequence where the camera goes from sort of one place where they're being interviewed, I think, between the psychiatrist or psychologist, criminal psychologist probably, and then it goes to out into the car park or out into the street, and then there's a detective character played by Ashley Walters talking to his son, and then it goes into a long drone shot and then over to the car park, revealing where the actual murder took place. It's partly written by Jack Thorne, who is known for Skins, and after that he co-wrote This Is England 86 to 90, the TV show continuation of This Is England, the film by Shane Meadows, which was mainly directed by Shane Meadows, and Jack Thorne kind of, brought something to it, but it overall, even though I thought it was very good overall, This Is England as a TV show, it was still at times feeling a bit soapish and like they were just throwing kind of issues into it to just sort of fill the time a bit. It didn't all feel completely convincing to me. I think it was all well made and directed and good acting, but and I enjoyed the settings a lot. But I think sometimes it did feel a little bit, overblown in terms of all these characters in it, you know, a relatively small group of teenagers to adults, like the amount of misfortune and terrible things happening to all of them, and it is largely pretty not exactly uplifting, you know. It seems pretty a high percent, you know, an incredible percentage of misfortune to be foisted upon such a group, you know, especially after the film, which deals, of course, with um, prejudice and racist, basically, you know, kind of scaremongering and group mentality within sort of skinhead Britain in the 80s. But of course, the show has to have, you know, as a TV show, they had to sort of have storylines which continued the paths of each different character. But at times it felt like, you know, where is this going and how does it really relate back to the original film, which is mainly concentrated on this group who elect to, you know, bully local groups like Indians or whoever, and then, you know, there's a young boy called Sean getting involved in that, with Stephen Graham playing a skinhead who's just come out of prison and who's kind of been shaped by that into being quite a unpleasant, you know, character. But they brought it back around at the end of this England 90 back to that central focus, but sometimes it, you know, I would say it felt a little bit stage managed or like a performance rather than maybe entirely convincing in terms of the series. But then, as a film, you know, I think the TV show and the film fit together well, but I wasn't entirely convinced, especially with the ending, which felt a bit sort of just hammered in. And like basically they were trying to bring around this theme of the racial hatred and violence coming full circle back to the person who was a victim of it, wanting to be the perpetrator of revenge, you know. And sort of, I heard some people say that Milky in it, who was the, you know, black lad in it, who eventually gets his family to get combo basically and try and take him out to some kind of industrial unit on old industrial building that was filmed in Grimsby, and then he sort of passed over to another group who seemed to be possibly maybe people who are either members of a kind of, you know, some kind of whatever they, you know, they're seeking a kind of, you know, vigilante justice for him because he beat up their brother or relative, you know, nephew or whatever, and they're enacting revenge in, you know, and he's shouting, "I don't want to die, I don't want to die," and it's kind of all very emotional, but it felt a little bit like unresolved, and to me it felt like really they would probably just tell him to go away and move away to a different place after beating him up basically, and not actually beating him to death, because after all Milky wasn't beaten to death. He nearly died. So in the same, you know, by the same, if kind of, you know, an eye for an eye thinking, which seems to be the case in that end scene, he would therefore be beaten until the same state that Milky was in, you know, and it was like tenuous. But maybe, on the other hand, you know, you don't really know what was going on. And the fact that they left it so loose, to me, seems a little bit, you know, like, okay, we're going to have to follow this on with another one. Which apparently is the plan, where they were going to follow it on with a This Is England 2000 in terms of a turn of the, you know, 2000 and the whole thing to do with, you know, oh my God, my computer's not going to work in the year 2000. But, you know, I'm not really sure exactly what specifically we would be coming back to find out, other than is Combo still alive? You know, I mean, he's like obviously a central figure in the show, even though he's not in the show necessarily as much as he was the film. The series focuses more on the other characters and introduces perhaps a few new characters as well. Some comedy in there from Perry Fitzpatrick playing Flip, who used to work in Blockbuster in Long Eaton when I used to go in. And yeah, to come back to the whole thing with Jack Thorne and this show, Adolescence, it's written by Stephen Graham, who of course played Combo in This Is England, and Jack Thorne. And I think overall the writing is pretty good, but a lot of it did feel very much improvised, which is no, you know, not a bad thing, but I did feel like it didn't really offer any reasoning for why this young boy had decided to stab this girl to death when he felt insulted and, you know, just humiliated by her, I suppose. And it kind of mentioned things like, you know, especially in the promotion, the whole incel culture and things like that online, which he may have come across, but he says that he didn't particularly, the character, you know, he doesn't say that any of that was any influence on him, which may be true or not, but I don't really think it offered any particular reasoning for why that happened, you know, him deciding to stab her to death, but you know, which was captured on camera, so there was no getting out of it for him. But and you know, in terms of the TV show, we saw it happen. But even though he had a, you know, obviously a degree of aggression in him, like any young boy may have, his dad was shown to be, played by Stephen Graham, is shown to have an aggressive side to him. He's basically playing a plumber who has to go out at all different hours, which could be a factor, for instance, causing him to be aggressive, you know, because he's woken up at all hours and got a lot of strain and everything because of the pressure of his job. But he's shown to be maybe, you know, have a temper, but not necessarily anything which would indicate that, you know, what happens with his son. But there's a whole sequence where the family goes out to sort of somewhere like, you know, a B&Q or home base, which apparently all closed down now, or something of that sort, you know, a DIY shop, and he wants to get something to remove some paint from some local teens randomly writing nonce spelt with an S in it on his van, but which doesn't really make any sense either, because there's no indication that he's that, and these teenagers are just doing it as a joke. So I don't really understand what would impel them to write nonce on his van. But again, it's just another unexplained thing. And Hannah Walters, who's Stephen Graham's real life partner and, you know, wife, plays his. I think, does she appear in it? Does she appear as a teacher? I think so, yeah. Also, Joe Hartley is a teacher in it briefly, who was also in This Is England, as was Hannah Walters, originally as a shoe shop owner or manager or something. And then she's more in the series as Trudy in a quite memorable, comical involvement with the character of well, I forgot his name now, but anyway, the character who they get dressed up in a nice jumper, and he grows a small moustache and everything, and wants to be called Clark or something like that, or she wants him to be called Clark, like Clark Gable. I don't really, you know, that this is all going off the point now. But anyway, in terms of Adolescence, there's a sequence where they go into this hardware place, as they say in America, and they suddenly just switch to discussing music, and the parents are having a recollection of the 80s mainly, and they want Aha played on her phone, which seems a bit random, but you know, I mean, can't they just play some music on the actual in the van, you know, on the radio or something? But I suppose they're getting the daughter involved. She finds it after about 10 minutes looking for it on her phone, which seems a rather long time to be looking for it, several minutes at least. But then they even mention, you know, members of the band, well, Paul specifically, a member of the band, and talk about Aha a bit, which is quite unusual in terms of any show I've ever seen where Aha's music is used. But it goes from a sort of a more happy scene to then going into, you know, more traumatic type stuff, and it's pretty well done overall. I definitely recommend it to anybody, adolescents. And I'd say, you know, to its credit, at least it's trying something new, and on Netflix at that, you know, which, you know, I would argue that Netflix, whilst being overall okay, it's not great, you know. I think that it lacks, you know, a lot of new programs on there. I know that we'll have the new Black Mirror soon, for instance, and then there'll be Stranger Things. But you know, that's just a couple of programs. You know, it needs a lot more really to enhance its subscription rate and, you know, get people interested, in my opinion. That was my main viewing experience of late, anyway. Adolescence. So yeah, I would recommend it to everybody, but I would question a few things in terms of the writing, similarly to Jack Thorne's involvement with This Is England, you know, and going back to Skins, which, you know, Skins was a good show, but it kind of dealt with issues a lot in the same way that something like EastEnders might have a focus on certain issues each week. And, you know, over time, different characters have different things going on. Not everybody's just dealing with issues, but inevitably, when a show like EastEnders is 4 days a week, as a soap opera, is bound to have a certain amount of repetition and reusing certain issues of the day, you know, things that are happening in the zeitgeist in general, you know, bringing in, for instance, one of the characters in EastEnders, for instance, at the moment has an AI friend, and because he was being a bit violent, involving punching his mum cat in the face and bullying his own brothers, punching them on the arms or something like this. You know, he's been a bit ostracized at school, so they explained that he's got an AI friend. But sometimes a lot of it feels a bit shoehorned in, where you just suddenly learn about a new development and it just seems to come out of nowhere. You know, it's just, okay, we're going to have this new topic in today, and these characters are going to be befooled. Not befall, I don't think that's a right word or a word, but something is going to befall these characters all of a sudden that just doesn't seem to be built up to particularly. You know, it's I think this is probably to do with the fact that there's so many episodes and they've got to bring in, you know, a lot of different people to write it. And so there's probably a lot of different ideas all going in the pot. And so inevitably some things, if they're not developed fully, you know, throughout the whole show, they just can feel a little bit like, oh, where's that come from? You know, oh, now we've got, someone's got cake addiction, or, you know, this character's got a problem with, he just can't stop walking, you know, he keeps walking non-stop. throughout the entirety of the day, and then even at night, you know, when he's asleep, he gets up and starts walking. That could be an interesting storyline, for instance. It could involve the two subjects as well, cake, non-stop cake eating and addiction combined with non-stop walking. Whether maybe the exercise would help in terms of the burning off all the calories and stuff of the cake. But, you know, it's not. It would obviously be disruptive to anyone's normal day-to-day life if their entire existence revolved around eating cake and just walking, even when they were asleep. So that could be, you know, good. I think it would be a good new, you know, theme to bring in. But at the same time, I don't know if that would really be the kind of thing that EastEnders would want to include, because it might seem a bit unrealistic or something. But I think in striving for realism, there's always possibly a tendency to you know, exaggerate certain aspects. It's kind of creating a rather exaggerated or heightened sense of realism. Whereas, you know, I think in day-to-day life for most people, the mundanity of life can be quite, you know, it's something that people have to get used to, or they enjoy the tedium of it or not, as, you know, depending on their personality, etc. But then suddenly, you know, certain things might happen and it can kind of just completely shift the balance and disrupt everything. And, you know, create all sorts of different reactions, etc. But I think the trouble with soaps is that a lot of it seems like they have to drag stories out for such a long time as well. So there's like various things that just happen spontaneously, and you're a bit like, oh, I don't know where that came from. And then there's other things that just seem like they have to build them up, you know, over months. Somebody's having an affair with this person, and we don't know. And then other people in the show don't know anything about it. Then it's a bit, you know, there's a build up of several months until other people are finding out about the affair, and then it's all, you know, a palaver, and everybody's in a tizzy about that, going, you know, I can't believe that person's having an affair with this person. This is an absolute disgrace. I'm going to smash them round the head with a shovel or something like this, which happened at Christmas. Not a shovel, but a snow shovel. And, you know, there's a tendency for people to perhaps react in ways which could seem very soap opera, you know, not really based in a believable way of behaving. I mean, if there are 4 people watching now, it would be good if somebody would actually say something, because I don't know if I can actually hear myself now. Let me just check. Yeah, there are. There are people actually watching me now, so I just want to say, if you want to write anything in the chat now, you're more than welcome, and I will answer all your questions for sure. So yeah, let's just make sure there's no technical errors and stuff like that. I just want to check my voice on here. Damnably good and peak coffee time with James tonight. Okay, I could actually say something, because I don't know if I can actually hear myself now. Let me just check. Yeah, there are. It's okay. I could actually say something, because I don't know if I can actually hear myself. Let me just check. Yeah, there are. It's okay. I could actually say something, because I don't know if I can actually hear myself. Let me just check. Yeah, there are. Testing. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I can actually hear myself. Let me just check. Yeah, there are. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
I don't know if I
Hello.
can actually hear myself. Yeah, there are.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ
Yeah,
Steve
there are.
Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance. 1, 2, 3. Shout out to Kevin Ball.
I can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ
Yeah,
Steve
there are.
Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance.
1, 2, 3.
Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ
Yeah,
Steve
there are.
Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance.
1, 2, 3.
Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ
Yeah,
Steve
there are.
Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance.
1, 2, 3.
Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ
Yeah,
Steve
there are.
Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance.
1, 2, 3.
Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ
Yeah, there
Steve
are.
Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance.
1, 2, 3.
Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ
Yeah, there
Steve
are.
Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance. Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ Steve Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance. Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ Steve Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance. Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ Steve Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance. Shout out to Kevin
I
Ball.
can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ Steve Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance. Shout out to Kevin Ball.
I can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ Steve Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance. Shout out to Kevin Ball.
I can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ Steve Walsh.
Testing.
On the dance. Shout out to Kevin Ball.
I can hear myself.
Live on the scene with DJ Steve Walsh. Shout out to Kevin Ball. Live on the scene with DJ Steve Walsh. Shout out to Kevin Ball. Live on the scene with DJ Steve Walsh. Shout out to Kevin Ball. Live on the scene with DJ Walters in the house tonight. Walters in the house tonight. Oh yeah. 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 Joe Powers on the scene 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 tonight. on the sea. Howlers 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 on the sea. Milford. Howlers on the sea. Milford. Howlers on the sea. Milford. Splash on the 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 Milford. Splash on I apologise for that. Hello there, Uncle Beer. I really apologise for what happened there. I lost track of what was happening with the sound effects, etc. And I was just enjoying some delicious butternut squash and sage kapalak. So that made me a bit distracted. I apologise for that. Yeah, I mean, obviously the sound seems to be working okay, but another thing I watched on Now TV, other than Adolescence, I'm sure there's other things that I've just forgotten about at the exact moment because they're so obviously so great. A film I watched on Now TV was called Blood for Dust. Well, I watched everything of it apart from the last 10 minutes because I was getting so fed up of it, to be honest. It's not terrible, but it's not particularly up my, junction, really. It's how are you doing anyway, Uncle Beer? And have you been watching anything notable lately? Because obviously, I just wanted to say to any people out there who might be subscribing or have subscribed, etc., to even get to 50 subscribers at this point is an achievement for me because bearing in mind that I basically deleted the previous channel on purpose. I mean, I wouldn't say it was completely calculated on my part, but it was definitely something which, you know, I hold my hands up and say, yes, this is something that I could have avoided if I was more careful and of sane mind, probably. But, you know, last year and probably some of this year was a bit difficult for me in certain ways. John Pilate, who was sometimes a guest on here, whilst he was briefly out of hospital recently, did talk about how I put on weight last year, etc., and seemed to be a bit antagonistic at times. But I mean, I don't know. That was probably over the half of it. He's unfortunately back in hospital now, so I just want to wish him the best. But not that he's watching this, but anyway, just putting that out there. And Uncle Beer has been watching Presents, Tide King, and Marco. Okay, well, in the spirit of the show and everything, I will just check out what these are rather than keep going on about Blood for Dust, which wasn't that good anyway. Presents. Why is it not coming up with anything? Presents. Oh, right, that one from 2025. That is, yeah, I've heard of that one. Sorry. Tide King sounds like it's about a king who maybe owns the company that makes Tide, but I imagine that's not what it's about. So not funny. Presence looks like it's probably a pretty good film from Steven Soderbergh, who seems to be directing a lot of things. I mean, he is a really good director, I would say, for, you know, the kind of films that he makes, and just you know, obviously something like Presence is more interesting to me than Ocean's 11 or something like that. But from the director of Sex, Lies and Videotape, Erin Brockovich, and Ocean's 11. Well, I'm not sure going on about those films is particularly relevant to promoting this film. But anyway, I'll forgive them for that. Because, I mean, his other films that I like are things like Side Effects. That one was really good. And then that one called Unsane, which was filmed on an iPhone, I believe. So yeah, Lucy Liu, Chris Sullivan, Kalina Liang. Rent here, HD 15.99. Well, that's not happening. So I will have to find something else to watch in the meantime. But you know, it will come down in price. It's got 3 stars out of 5 from 8 reviews, so I wouldn't say that's anything particularly to pay attention to. I don't really know anything about this film, other than obviously it's dealing with the idea of a ghost, I presume. So it sounds pretty much up my alley, or up my street. Up my alley sounds a bit weird. You know, it was good. Out of Sight was good, or do you mean? Anyway, looking forward to Mobland at the end of the month on Paramount Plus. Says AI reads my childhood diaries, which is one of the best names I've ever heard anyone have on YouTube. So if you could think of ways that I could get more subscribers without just being a complete YouTube dick or something, kind of posting just crazy shit to get, you know, attention. I mean, you know, me going into a place that sells cake and then recording like 30 seconds saying that all the cakes there are good, I don't really think that's going to get me, which I have done. And, you know, it doesn't really make any sense, obviously, because I didn't eat any of the cakes, but they look good. One was a Ukrainian cake, and I asked if it was apple cake. I asked if the apples were made in Ukraine, but you know, I know I'm going all over the shop here, but I just need things that are going to attract people to the channel. I don't think that's going to work. me doing cake reviews or something. It's probably not a good idea as well in terms of the weight issue. But I am supposed to be buying at Easter a kind of Easter cake, so that's a major issue for me, obviously. Um, Tide King, let's check that out now. Tide King. The King Tide, you mean? You must mean that. After the mayor of an idyllic island village discovers a child with mysterious powers awash on their shores, the once peaceful community dissolves into civil war, torn over the belief that the child is the next saviour. Francis Fisher, Clayne Crawford, Laura Jean Korostecki. Director Christian Sparks. King Tide. Their King Tide is actually called Uncle Beer. So thank you for those recommendations. I'll just check out the Marco as well. Marco. Oh, is that a Hindi film? A gripping action thriller, Marco is an intense portrayal of a man's relentless pursuit to safeguard his family and honour. Starring Uni Mukundan, Marco embarks on a merciless journey of vengeance after his brother's brutal murder. 2 hours, 21 minutes, 22 minutes, 18. Currently unavailable, it says. I don't know if that's the right one. Yeah, it's a Bollywood film that is outrageously violent. Let's just check out Mobland then. Wait. I mean, Marco looks quite good, probably, as far as, it goes. I don't know, unless I watch it, of course. Mobland. Not, obviously, the film starring John Travolta. Nothing's really come up for Mobland. Not yet, anyway. Clearly, something that... In Darkness. Sorry, I just saw a film that looked a bit interesting there. In Darkness, Blind Pianist Sophia. Natalie Dormer. Not sure about that one. Looks okay, but who knows? Natalie Dormer is a pretty good actress, for sure. I went to see The Forest with her in at the cinema, actually, in the past, and that was decent enough for a, chiller type film. Solid movie from Canada, The King Tide. So yeah, I did watch this other film called Blood for Dust on Now TV, which is just about a guy who is somehow, convinced to basically be a courier for drugs, and it's a pretty grim movie overall, just in terms of its tone and the acting and everything in it. Just not very. There's nothing really very likable about any of the characters in it, so it just seems almost like, why did they make this film? Partly, I don't really know. Maybe they thought it was a good idea when they started making it. I don't know, and it just didn't turn out very good. And it's quite uneventful as well, really, apart from just a succession in the latter half of just a succession of gunfights, really, which are fairly realistically filmed and everything, and show sort of created or staged, but that doesn't make it, a great film by any means. I don't know if I missed something about it. But I don't think the last 10 minutes are going to probably change my mind too much about it. Right, this camera angle is terrible. I apologise, but yeah, I mean, I did actually buy a Blu-ray of a David Hemmings film called Fragments of Fear, or Fragment of Fear. Let's see if there's a proper trailer for that. I mean, it looks at least somewhat interesting. I mean, I didn't pay very much for the Blu-ray, so, There we go. There's a half-decent trailer by the looks of it for it here, so. Still got this music playing very slightly, unfortunately. Let me just stop that. Fragment of Fear from 1970. Let's check out the trailer. I won't go on for an hour, much longer than an hour, for sure. So, if you get any ideas of things I could do to try and get some people subscribing or interested in the channel, really, is I'm open to, offers. Not me appearing nude on camera, that kind of thing. Obviously, that's not gonna, or doing, OnlyFans or something. That would be just hideous. So, or eating massive quantities of cake.
Hello?
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 Hello? That's... Terrifying.
All right, who are you?
I'm 7, like the devils in the Bible. Or 17. Or 70. Or 700. And you were only 1.
That's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Make love to me.
We're investigating the death of an unknown woman whom you were the last person to see alive.
Make love to me.
We're
Make love to me.
We're investigating the death of an unknown woman whom you were the last person to see alive.
Yes, I understand. Don't you realize that they're connected? It all ties in with the report that I gave to Sergeant Matthews. The laugh and the voices on the telephone, it's all part of my persecution by some connected. It all ties in with Sergeant Matthews. The laugh and the voices on the telephone, it's all...
Not sure, is that the actor who was in... No, I'm not sure. I was going to say it's the actor who plays Grady in The Shining, but I might be wrong on that.
on the telephone. It's all part of my persecution by somebody who doesn't want me to get more interested.
Persecution. What we want to hear is what you know, not what you imagine.
And look, I promise you I have not taken drugs for more than a year. Now, therefore, I cannot possibly be hallucinating, can I?
Yes, of course we can protect you, provided you protect yourself.
How? By genuinely taking no further active interest in the Dawson case. No contact of any sort with the police except through us.
If I had gone back on mescaline or I'd gone back on acid, the voices that I hear wouldn't be lucid. I mean,
Please stop it.
I'm afraid I can't stop it.
You'll never.
Mescaline or I'd gone back on acid, the voices that I hear wouldn't be lucid. I mean,
Please stop it.
I'm afraid I can't stop
Stop it.
I'm afraid I can't stop it.
You'll never find them.
All right, then they'll have to find me then, won't they? I would be lucid. I mean, if I can't. I'm afraid I can't stop it.
You'll never find them.
All right, then they'll have to find me then, won't they?
I'm 7. Like the devils in the Bible. Or 17. Or 70. Or 700. You were only one.
We're investigating the death of an unknown woman.
Stop it.
Like the devils in the Bible.
You'll never find them.
Yes, of course we can protect you.
Or 700. You were only one.
Tim!
Well, I have some breaking.
Well, yeah, looks pretty good to me. Yeah, I'd recommend that film to anybody out there, even though I've not seen it. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that for tonight before I start doing any copyright infringement by accident. And wishing everyone out there a good night or rest of the day wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. If you get any ideas that you want me to do on the show, then just write in, and Uncle B and AR reads my childhood dairies. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. So all the best for now, and see you later.